Guys, welcome back to Jason Unleashed. So glad to have you here. How's it going? I'm your host, Jason Carter. Thank you for watching. Great show, guys. Great show today with someone who I honor, who I think is just a phenomenal woman. She's a special person. She is Blossom C.BROWN. She's a trans activist, writer, producer, and she's here. We're going to have a very nuanced, in-depth conversation about trans and the Black Lives Matter movement. So let me bring Blossom in. Oh, hold on. Let me get her. Let me get Blossom. Go live with Blossom. Bam. You guys know how technology is these days, right? Let's see. Bam. Cool. All right. Let's go. Yes. Blossom C.BROWN. Blossom, 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 blossom.
And
Okay.
I'm back.
And we're back. Blossom, hi.
How are you, my love?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me good?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Awesome. Awesome.
All right,
awesome.
awesomeness.
Okay. Hi. Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Love
course.
you as always.
Same, girl. Same. Let's get into it, Blossom, because I have been wanting to talk about just the intersectionality of LGBT plus in the Black Lives Matter, right? Especially people of the trans, because I have felt for me that when we talk about Black Lives Matter, we talk about the Black, when you enter LGBT plus into the conversation, coupled with when you specifically talk about trans, people leave the room. They don't want to. They don't support. They don't want to hear it. They turn a blind eye. And people may disagree with me all day and night, but I have seen it happen. I've seen it happen. So let's talk about trans experience and trans existence in BLM. What are you finding now in 2020, and even before the uprising that has happened?
Yeah, Jason, I think your audio kept cutting in and out, but I did catch most of what you were saying, though. You know, in this Black Lives Matter movement, when it comes to Black trans people, we are definitely having a difficult time because we're having to, once again, try to get people to acknowledge the existence of Black trans people within a Black movement, which is quite insane to me because we are Black first. It is innate in us to go to Black issues that affect everyone. Okay, that's just innate in our DNA. And, you know, while the protest was going on with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, these Black cis lives that were taken away due to police brutality, we also had a Black trans man by the name of Tony McDade, who also experienced the same thing, and so many other Black trans people as well. And the reality of it is, it was almost like an erasure of Black trans people within a Black movement, which was quite insane to me because we cannot be empowered to dismantle white supremacy, but be disempowered to acknowledge the existence of Black trans people. I'm gonna say that again for those of y'all in the back that didn't really hear me. We cannot be empowered to dismantle white supremacy and be disempowered to acknowledge the existence of Black trans people because we are Black too. And it's just been really, you know, Jason, I think it's been a really nuanced kind of conversation of trying to discuss the Black trans experience because, you know, our Black community has experienced so much generational trauma that sometimes we have inflicted a little bit of that trauma because we're so traumatized to other disenfranchised groups within the movement. And, you know, I do think this is a time where Black trans people are having an uprising. I went to the protest every day in, every day out. I tried to shout the name of Tony McDade and some of these other Black trans people. And I couldn't do that because, well, I did it, but the reality of it is no one would want to chant with me because, you know, it's just, we're just not there yet in the Black community, in the Black movement. And with the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, people can say all they want that, you know, they're inclusive of everyone, but your actions have to meet with those words. And I was very disappointed with the Black Lives movement because it took us having to be reactive instead of proactive to acknowledge the existence of Black trans people.
Right. Blossom, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I agree with you 100% about, you know, we want inclusion, but we're excluding, right? We're being what parts of our blackness that we stand behind. And blackness is not, as I've said time and time again, we're not a monolith. We're not homogenous. There's different experiences in the black community. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Tony McDade, so many others, but in 2019, close to 30 people of the trans experience were murdered. 40% of those people were Black trans women. Black trans women. Talk to us about what that is in the trans community, the dangers, and what people of the trans community are facing now more than ever.
The reality of it is Black trans people experience violence at such a high rate. That's just a reality. We're always having, every day we go out and we try to be our true, authentic selves, we're always having to watch our backs, as we are the targets when it comes to violence, especially Black trans people. Malaysia Booker probably was one of the most memorable, before she was killed. There was a video that went viral of her being beat up. And ironically, she came up dead about a week or two later. And, you know, there's this sense of like, we failed her. We couldn't protect her. And, you know, recently this happened more recently with another trans woman. And, you know, it's redundant and it keeps repeating itself because no one wants to talk about the fact that these same Black men, these same Black hetero cis men that we are going out there protesting for are actually also killing Black trans people. We're not ready to have that conversation yet because it's almost like we're gatekeeping that within the Black community. It's almost like, you know how your mama would just tell you whatever happens at home stays at home and you can't really talk about it outside of that. It's a moment like that. And then, you know, I'm a person that believes in peeling back the layers. And we're so afraid to have this conversation because people feel like it waters down the Black Lives Movement. Let me tell you something, because I posted this on social media a few weeks ago. Pretend the Black Lives Matter movement is a seed, okay? In that seed, you need dirt, you need water, and you need sun, okay? So let's plant that seed a little bit. Let's say that the water is what's going on with police brutality and with Black hetero cis men right now. Okay, so water that seed. Because we want the Black movement to grow. We want people to know what's going on. Okay, guess what? Without sunlight, it's just going to be watered down. Let's say, for instance, that sunlight is the issues that are facing Black trans people. I don't know, let's just say like the deaths of Black trans women. When you put that sunlight to that water, guess what? That seed grows. The Black Lives Matter movement seed grows. You can't have one without the other. You can't exclude Black trans people. We cannot exclude Black cis people. We can't do that. And I think people need to really wake up and realize that this is what's happening. And trans people are continuously under attack now. Like Ben Carson just pulled a bogus move, just yesterday, about how you can spot a trans woman trying to enter a shelter, what to look for, which is really insane to me. It's really insane to me, but you know, he's a brain surgeon, and we'll have a better luck finding Waldo before we find his brain, before we find Ben Carson's brain. But anyway, you know, it's interesting to me because, you know, during the month of Pride, we talk so much about the Black trans experience, the Black Lives Matter movement, all of that stuff. But then when trans issues are under attack again, we're all those same people that had us on these panels and that was paying us and that was using us for our knowledge and our wisdom. They're not there. They only wanted that Pride paycheck, and they only wanted to say that they were inclusive. And it's not. It's
look. I have.
Hold on, but your audio.
Oh, is this better? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why. I have great service. I don't know what's going on. Let me go into a different room.
Okay.
Awesome. I feel 100% what you're saying about we're picking and choosing what we choose to get behind in the Black Lives Matter movement, and we have to support all of our brothers and sisters, be it trans, LGBTQ+, cisgender, heteronormative, etc. Is this better? Can you hear me?
Yeah, much better.
Okay. But as far as Ben Carson, that was the most blatant display of transphobia ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And so I agree with you 100% on that as well. I'm trying to find a space with really good light.
Yeah, I can hear you way better. I can hear you way better in that spot.
Okay. Hi everyone. Guys, hang out just a second. I'm going to get a stool to sit on because I'm on the floor, and we're going to continue this interview with Blossom. Be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
All right, honey, you ready? All these technical difficulties. Mercury went direct, so we should be fine.
We got to work it out. Okay, Blossom. But
all right, babe.
You mentioned under attack. Can you please tell people that are watching and really educate us on what trans people deal with in regards to those dangers? Because it's a trickle down effect from being homeless to sex work to not being able to find jobs. Run the gamut of everything that people of the trans experience have been experiencing to their detriment.
Absolutely. It's about social economic factors. You have substance abuse, you have mental health issues, you have homelessness. A lot of us do have to resort to sex work, obviously, because especially in a lot more conservative states,
sure,
they don't want to hire trans people.
Right.
And a lot of trans people have to actually detransition just to find work. And I kid you not, I cannot tell you how many times I had friends that had to detransition just to get that job at Burger King or McDonald's.
What does detransition mean? Are they, and where along in their transition were they? And explain what detransition is.
So there have been times where, so basically detransition is basically, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Detransition is basically reverting back to the beginning, basically.
Okay.
A lot of us, we transition on the outside to align with what's on the inside. And so basically that's in reversal. And it's not because it's just something that we want to do. A lot of us are doing that for survival, because I have seen many of the girls who have went and got their boobs done, went and got surgery, having to take down their boobs, having to make other modifications just to go apply for a job. And I'm from Mississippi. I was born and raised in Mississippi. And so I saw a lot of that. Mental health, substance abuse, all of these different factors, a lot of us, we need to cope because we're having a hard time with homelessness and trying to find employment. And, you know, it's just a whirlwind effect that continuously affects us. And, you know, the reality of it is we're competing for crumbs.
Right.
We're competing for crumbs because that's what society gives us. And a lot of times we feel like we have to step over each other just to get those crumbs. But we got to get to this mental state where the crumbs are not enough. We got to look bigger than the crumbs. And I think we are slowly getting there.
For bread, boo. No?
I can hear you now. Yeah, it just keeps cutting in and out, hon.
The term dead name is that's referred to the name before they transition to become their true self. Yes. When you detransition, are they going back to their dead name as well?
A lot of them, yes. You have to also keep in mind that in a lot of states, well, some states now, I think it's gotten better, you couldn't legally change your name. Thank goodness I live in Los Angeles, California, where I was able to do that. I got my name changed like 3 years ago. But like in Mississippi, a lot of them still have to keep, and just in the Deep South period, a lot of them don't have that opportunity to get their names changed. I hear that it's getting better, that, you know, you can fill out the documents and you're able to do that. But once upon a time, you couldn't do that. And so, you know, there's this like community within community that, you know, has to support each other. And to do that, I myself engaged in sex work. And ironically, I felt like I was a little bit more privileged than a lot of my trans sisters. I didn't understand a lot of what I was doing back then, but because we're enslaved to think that, you know, and again, in much more conservative states, that when you come out as trans, oh, you got to do sex work. Oh, you got to join a gay family. Oh, you have to do this. You have to do that. That was my mentality. I thought I had to do all of that. And navigating through that, I saw so much stuff, Jason. I had been shot at. I had been stabbed. I had been maced. I actually can say this. I actually witnessed my ex-boyfriend kill somebody.
Wow.
On the beat. And ironically, I think he's getting out of jail in about 2 or 3 years. I think something in the conviction or whatever like that, because the guy had sexually assaulted him or something like that. That was a whole thing. And, you know, you see so much, Jason, like so many of the girls have just died just trying to live their truth and just be able to exist in this world. And, you know, as somebody who's an activist, any type of injustice, like I'm so empathetic to it. Like I have to be a voice, because for me, my voice is my safety.
Right. Well,
It cuts out.
I don't understand.
Okay.
Better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's almost like when you hold it, I can hear you a little bit better. But am I coming through on your end? Are you hearing me on your end?
Yeah, you're coming through on my end, for sure.
Yeah.
How's this? Is this okay?
Yeah. Do you have an iPhone 11?
Yeah, I do.
I do too, and I think sometimes it does that. I think the iPhone 11 is a little bit janky. No tea, no shade. I don't think because you know somebody told me it was because I was with T-Mobile, but because I have an 11 too, and see that's the reason why I have to wear earphones, because mine does the same thing.
That's crazy. Well, you can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Your voice. So let's talk about your voice, because October 2019, you had. I don't want to call it a viral moment. I think when people say shit is viral, it's like a game. It wasn't a viral moment. It was a human, necessary, and a very essential moment with Don Lemon at his town hall meeting. It was almost something came over you. You came down. One of our LGBTQ plus allies was saying, "Hey, we need to support our trans brothers and sisters," and you were just like, "This conversation is going to stop with me right now. I'm going to hold people accountable." And you did that on national television. Relive that for us, because I've watched it over and over and over again. I watched it the night it happened, and I still get chills. I can imagine what you were in your seat. What came over you and what was going through your mind that caused you to have an out-of-body experience, it seemed like?
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, as you know, CNN and the Human Rights Campaign put on this LGBTQ town hall, basically. And the way it went was everybody had to submit questions to the candidates. If CNN picked your question, you were the one that got flown out if you didn't live in LA, and you got to ask the question yourself. I knew my question didn't get selected, but I was excited because I was like, I know one of my trans siblings got their question picked or whatever like that. So I was totally fine with that. And so what happened, Jason, was as people were getting up, I noticed not one single Black trans person went to the mic. Yeah. And Beto O'Rourke was the 6th candidate. And by then I was like livid. I was looking on social media, and I was seeing a lot of my Black trans siblings just, you know, feeling hurt, feeling left out. Like they were just really expressing their, you know, their concerns for everything. And, you know, one thing about me, as I was just sitting there, I was thinking about Marsha P. Johnson, and I was thinking about so many people who have led the way for me to have opportunity. And the reality of it is I had the privilege of actually being there. Yeah. So, you know, I felt like I would be irresponsible if I sat there and I didn't say anything. And something, I kid you not, and you're so right, it was definitely an out-of-body experience, because something hit my heart and something hit my soul. Lizette Trujillo and her son Danny actually so happened to get up to the mic. So what had happened was, before them, like people were trying to elevate the existence of Black trans people. They were trying to say something. Right. So, you know, but the reality of it is, when you have Black trans people in the audience, they should be the ones that's actually saying it. And so you should be trying to amplify their voice. And so I saw a moment where Lizette was at the mic and she was trying to do just that. And in the video, you can actually hear me yell "Black trans lives." And, you know, after that, something came over me, and I was just like, I stood up and I told Lizette, you know, Lizette, I don't want to take this away from you. And then I just started like on my spiel about how Black trans women were being killed in this country, and no one was saying anything. Over 20-something Black trans people trans women had been killed, and no one was saying anything. And CNN actually had erased Black trans people out of the program. Ashley Marie Preston, who is a prominent activist, who is a sister of mine who I love so much, and, you know, who I look up to, she was supposed to be in the program, and they erased her.
Right. I
And,
remember.
you know, her question was actually a really good one, you know, about, I think it was about TSA or something like that. And they had erased her out of the program. And then not one single Black trans woman had done that. Come to find out. And then I had that moment with Don Lemon. And, you know, Don Lemon made a comment about, you know, we're here to give voices to people like you. And the reality of it is not one single Black trans person had gotten a mic. And
Right.
so, like, Don, you had just fallen into this whole ideology of just white supremacy, and you're being complicit. Beto, ironically, Beto's team was so amazing afterwards. They reached out to me, like, we kept in contact. You know, they were amazing. And, you know, Jason, what happened was after I said what I said, I made sure I gave the mic back to Lizette. And I actually went outside and I started crying. I started crying. And let me tell you who was the first person that came out there to check on me. One of the first people. Alfonso David, the new president of the Human Rights Campaign, the first Black gay man of the Human Rights Campaign. He came out there, he hugged me, and then, you know, my HRC crew, because I have been volunteering with them for almost 5 years now. They're my family. And I had no idea Lizette was a part of the HRC family. I found that out later. So it was kind of like family helping other family. And I cried because I should not have to do that in an LGBTQ space. Trans people, and there were also other trans protesters, Maria Roman, Bambi Salcedo, who is phenomenon, and Michelle Polito, they had the trans flag, and they actually protested before me. And the reality of it is, in an LGBTQ space, trans people are still having to fight to be heard. Right. We still have a lot of work to do in the LGBTQ community. And I'm sorry, we can't hold hetero cis people accountable when we don't do right about our own.
Boom. I agree with that 100%. And can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
When Don had said, I'm trying to give people like you a voice, it rubbed me the wrong way. Like, because he made it, he was like, Blossom, people like you. Instead of being like, I'm just trying to give you a voice to be heard. It just seemed very, I don't know, that watching it over and over again, there was things that were, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you, bro.
There was things that were just like, Don, all right, bro. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
You. But
you know what? And I kid you not, Jason, and this has come up a lot within because it's going to be a year coming up. This has come up a lot. Like, have you talked to Don about this? Have me and Don have a conversation about this? I will say this. I am very open to talking to Don Lemon about this because I feel like it's gonna happen real soon. And so I might as well just manifest it because I don't want this to be a moment where I tear down a Black brother because that's not what I'm about. I want to educate him and I want him to understand some things. I was also disappointed with a few people as well too, especially within the Black trans community. You had people like, first of all, you had amazing people like India Moore, Angelica Ross, so many Black trans celebrities that shared the video that, you know, showed their support, which was great. But you had others like Laverne Cox, Janet Mock, some of these other people that said nothing. And ironically, they're friends of Don.
Yeah.
And that was really disappointing, especially coming from Laverne, who I've met a couple of times and who I actually looked up to for a while, especially when she was on P. Diddy's show. And, you know, it was just really interesting having to call these Black trans people out because it's like, you know, I feel like when you reach, it's for me, and what I'm starting to see is when you reach a certain celebrity threshold, it's almost like I got what I want, damn everybody else. And if this is not the case, call me to the table and prove me wrong. Because this is overdue conversations that need to really be had. We got to quit this gatekeeping. We have to stop being complicit because you can't be in Hollywood doing one thing and not supporting another thing that's really also important. Because guess what? You girls came from that.
Yeah.
And so that's just my honest opinion about it.
And thank you for sharing. So I'm sure there's many who share your exact sentiment, Blossom. With that said, though, Angelica Ross, India Moore, trans has made a huge leap into mainstream with Pose, and, you know, Emmy nominated. When Pose became a phenomenon, because it is a phenomenon, what were your thoughts on that? Because before Pose, we had I Am Kate, which is a reality show, and that was like,
which I was on, by the way.
Exactly, and which was like, the litmus test I felt for a lot of people that are not of the culture, that are not of our community, to be like, oh, we can watch trans things that are trans-based. You have Drag Race. You have other things that have had people of the trans experience definitely there, being on a platform that is global. But IMK was like, okay, we're opening the bag of chips, and then Pose was the whole bag of Doritos. When Pose became the phenomenon that it is, what were your thoughts? Did you feel, some people took issues with it, even though it's highlighting 5 women of the trans experience in leading roles never before done on television.
Yeah. Honestly, I was really happy, Jason, because I knew, it's so funny because Angelica was the one that I knew probably first because we were on IMK together, and, you know, Angelica actually played a big part of helping me along my journey. I don't really talk about this much, and I have to start holding myself a little bit more accountable for this because, you know, Angelica really did help me a lot on my journey, and I think I've not acknowledged that more publicly, and for that, I do apologize for that, and I think there's some healing work that needs to happen in that. But, you know, so I was really excited because this was somebody I knew. She was like a mentor to me, actually. And so, you know, and I had knew of Dominique, and I've actually since met everybody, including Billy Porter and everyone. And I was really excited because there's such great talent that is coming on television that this world needs to see. This world needs to see trans actors. They need to see trans people playing, you know, breaking the spectrum and just making things happen. I think Dominique, India, Haley, Angelica, like they really are breaking ground in Hollywood. And I'm so grateful to see that because that should be inspiration and that should be motivation. We should be uplifting those girls. We should be uplifting all of them. But you know how it is in community when we feel like just because other people are starting to shine, we start to feel some type of way. And, you know, there's a lot of that's happening. And, you know, kudos to Janet, like, you know, for writing, and Our Lady J. Like, I love seeing that. Billy Porter, I think, is amazing. I think this is a problem that's across every genre where things always go to Black gay men first and the leftovers always go to trans people afterwards. Even in the health field, I've seen this many times. In a lot of organizations, when it comes to funding, the funding will go to Black gay men or just gay male organizations, period. And then whatever's left over goes to trans people, women, whatever the other groups are. And ironically, I feel like in Hollywood, that's kind of like what's happening. Like all like the nominations. And I forgot MJ. Oh my God, MJ. Oh my gosh. I'm seeing like a lot of like the nominations and stuff going to Billy Porter first, and you know, like MJ and everybody else is having to kind of like fight, you know, just to be seen in that way. And those girls are so deserving because they are telling a powerful story. A lot of them have experienced that. India talked a lot about this, and you know, like. And it's so funny because that panel that I saw you at, I think we sat next to each other at this panel for Billboard. You know, listening to MJ, India, and Haley that day, it really opened my eyes to a new perspective because, you know, the conversation of colorism was a big thing within the first 2 seasons. And I like how they addressed those issues, especially India, because, you know, we would always think Angel's was like the good one and nothing ever happens to Angel. And I like how India called that out. I like how India did that. And so, you know, being able to sit and listen listen to the conversations, you know, you begin to open up your eyes and see a different perspective. But again, you and I have the privilege to sit in those spaces. A lot of other people do not. So they're going to miss a lot of that.
Right.
Unless you follow them on social media and they're always breaking stuff down, which they always do. I'm proud to see Pose. And I hope for a spinoff. I hope that more shows come out like this that talks about trans stories. That I like to see us create. I like to see us thrive. Like instead of competing, we should like collaborate. Like, you know, yeah, I love it.
And kudos to Ryan Murphy for having. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
kudos to Ryan Murphy for having like just the sense to be like, you know what, and these stories need to be told authentically by these people of a time, and still be able to do that with like authenticity and be so on the nose, because a lot of people will also take our experiences and then like water them down and omit and extract things that are important because it's uncomfortable, or a white audience may not want to see that, you know, like
and I think, and you know one thing, Jason, and you know the thing is next is okay, because I was also thinking about this too, and again I'm a Libra, so just balancing out. You know, all of this is under the Ryan Murphy brand, which is great. But, you know, at the end of the day, he's still a gay. I don't know if he's not gay. I don't know. But he's still a white cis man. And I think the next thing is, how do you break away from that creatively?
Right.
Because I'm quite sure those girls don't always want to be under the Ryan Murphy brand because they are their own brand. And this is an important conversation of how white supremacy really works. And we got to be really careful with that, because white supremacy gives us opportunities. And I'm not saying he's a white supremacist, but I'm just talking about in general. White supremacy and capitalism and all of these other isms, it gives us opportunities, and we become complicit to that because that's our bread and butter.
Right.
And so, you know, now once Pose ends, or whenever it ends, what next? You see what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's just one of those things. Like, again, y'all, please forgive me. I just see both sides of things, and these are all things to think about, and I think that they're all valid.
Well, they are valid. You have to have an open, honest conversation about anything. You have to where there's darkness, there's light. You can't. You know, I'm a Libra too. I get it. Like, you have to be able to see both sides in order to arrive at the right conclusion, and sometimes that's walking the middle. But, you know, another term that people are becoming woke to, hate that word, is misogynoir. Can you talk about that? Because I think people need to understand every aspect of the trans experience.
Yeah. You know what? I don't ever use that term often. And that's really interesting. But, you know, the trans experience is so intricate. It's a very intricate experience, especially when we're dealing with intersectionality, because again, going back to what I was saying earlier, me being a trans woman, I'm having to fight for my existence as a woman. I'm having to prove my existence as a woman. And then to other men, I'm also having to prove to them that I am not just a man with a wig on. I am a woman. Right. And, you know, I just think that, again, a lot of this comes from uneducation and a lot of generational ideology that we that was passed on to us, that becomes a legacy to us. And the question becomes, how do you break away from it? And that's so interesting, because that's the first time I've actually really heard that word. And maybe I'm putting my privilege a little bit more into perspective as well too.
You're not.
You're not. You know,
it's new for me, and it was. I was talking to Ashley Marie Preston about it when I was doing my research about the trans experience. That was something that came up as well, and so it was just. I always want to authentically be educated from someone who walks and moves through the world in that experience. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Misconceptions, though. I have had colleagues, people I've talked to, some friends that have told me that I was not like they thought gay men were. I'm sure you have had people in your life tell you you are not what I thought a trans person is. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions society has about our beautiful trans brothers and sisters? Yeah,
that, you know, we're all prostitutes. We all are credit card fraud people. And, you know, oh my gosh, Jason, I think I've heard it all before. But you know what? Sometimes talking is not enough, and just doing the work and letting your work speak for itself says a lot. Even going back again to the cast of Pose, them going out there doing their thing, that shows people we are much more than what you think we are. You know, I think this is a perfect moment where trans people are thriving. I think that we are going to rise out of the ashes, and we are going to be abundant, and we're going to go after the prosperity that we deserve to have. They can twist us, bend us, but they can never break us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misconceptions about the trans community that, you know, that happen. But the reality of it is trans people are your doctors. Trans people are your lawyers. We are your teachers. We have like, just being trans is not just us.
Right.
We have so much to give to the world. And the reality of it is trans people are normal people. We're just like you. We're just like you. And we have to navigate. Again, I think, you know, a lot of it also comes from like where you come from too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're so right, Jason. I have gotten that a lot where, you know, a lot of the trans women had to do survival sex work and having to do all of these things just for survival. Mm-hmm. Not because they're bad people, but because of survival. And, you know, it's survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have a home to go to, when you don't have family to go to, you know, it is what it is. And the reality of it is people assume that they're such bad people. And I kid you not, when I was coming up in my transition, I felt like I had to prove to people that's just not my experience. I went through the education system. The injustice I experienced was they wouldn't let me in nursing school because I had transitioned in college. That's how I ended up on IMK and on Ellen, because of that. And, you know, doing work with the Human Rights Campaign because of injustice. A lot of activism starts because of some type of injustice. And, you know, people are going to think what they're going to think. We're not going to be able to change everybody's mind right away. And that's fine. But people got to want to change. And honestly, it's not up to us to make them change. All we can do is put out the work that shows who we are and move on from that. I've learned not to waste so much energy on low vibrational people. Just today, ironically, when I made the post about coming on your show, someone, a Black guy wrote, "Oh, but you're still a man," on my thing. And I went to his profile picture and it literally says in his bio, trans women are men. And I'm separate thinking to myself, now, should I post a yo mama joke or whatever, or should I just leave it alone?
Right.
Well, and you know, I ended up blocking him, but it's just really interesting. And again, this is a Black man that did it. And it's just really interesting how insecure some people are about femininity and masculinity. And,
about,
you know,
like, I feel that, B, because I often ask, you know, being anything that people see as other, like, what is the threat of you being trans? What is the threat of me being Black and gay? There is no threat. Really, there's not. Because it's not like you're a predator. It's like we're predators. Like, we're out in these streets trying to convert people or try.
You want to know what it is? You want to know what it is, Jason? Yeah. And my mom used to always tell me this. They're scared of our power. Yeah. They're afraid of our power. And, you know, I speak of my experience, but I know your experience too. Like, you know, especially with everything that's going on in this world right now. It's just really interesting because my mom would always tell me the most dangerous thing in this world is an educated Black person.
Yeah.
An educated Black person, because we speak our minds, we speak our heart. And, you know, I like to remind people, being from Mississippi, I'm only one generation removed from Jim Crow. Mm-hmm. My parents were born at the end of it. My grandparents and great-grandparents actually lived it. So they saw the sit-ins, they saw the protests, the fire hoses, and everything. And for me, that's inspiration, because that's what keeps me going, because we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. Mm-hmm. And for so long, I used to be ashamed of my Blackness. Mm-hmm. And would want to conform to whiteness, because whiteness was the thing back then. It was the thing. And my mom and my family broke me of that. Like, my mom, I came home saying, I told my mom one time, I wish I was white. My mama tried to tear me up.
Strangle the shit out of you.
Yeah, she was not having it. But, you know, over the years, I had to let go of that self-hatred of my skin tone, because I understood privilege at such a young age. I was a smart kid. I was very book smart. Like, I loved school and I loved reading and everything. But I had to let go of that because I understood what privilege was a long time ago. And I knew my skin, my hair was not going to get me through the door like my white counterparts did. And I saw that through college. I experienced a lot of institutional racism, because when I got back to that college after being on Ellen, no one talked about it. No one talked about me being on Ellen, but then two white students who got like a scholarship in culinary, $20,000, like I got a scholarship. Everybody over the school heard. Right. Blasted on the school website, everything.
But that type of bad behavior happens everywhere, in every sector, be it private, public, in all corners of society. You see that nepotism, that favoritism, and that kind of elitist attitude everywhere. But you are living proof that you are the embodiment of your ancestors' dreams, because you are here, you're killing it, doing it. On a positive note, Blossom, my Libra sister.
Yes.
You pull tarot cards, and I am a huge tarot fan. Confession, B.
Okay.
On the treadmill at the gym, what do I watch? I watch my monthly tarot readings. Is that crazy or what?
No, it's not at all. Oh my gosh. It is so funny because like that was a legacy that was passed on to me. And it's all about, when it comes to tarot, it's all about how you want to use them. I like to use them for healing purposes. I think a lot of people didn't know I was doing this. They didn't know I was into tarot, but I was actually going into, I went into like a secret trans group on Facebook, and for 3 hours I did tarot readings. And cool. I did it because in a society that wants to see trans people
erased,
broken and erased, I've used the tarot cards to get down to the core of what's going on with them personally and build them up from there so I can build the person to get ready for society. Nobody knew I was doing that. And I did it away from community. So, like the community trans people didn't know I was doing it. Ironically, one of my day ones is actually on here. One of my day ones who was actually in those tarot readings, who saw everything. And, I just learned to use it as part of my platform now.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to admit that. And, people can say what they want about me, Jason, and that's totally fine. I don't care. And it's so funny because I think it's slowly starting to gain attraction, and I want to be so consistent with it. And, it's not necessarily about the followers, but it's about who's ready to hear the medicine, who's ready to hear what spirit has to say for them, who's ready to, hold themselves accountable. I don't know ahead of time of what's going to happen. And, coming on and being able to do tarot, doing tarot, and just being able to see people get their breakthrough. Like it feels very life coaches when you deal with me. I should probably be a life coach, but I know, right? But for me, I feel so good because I get to see the breakthrough of someone who may have come to me that was broken or that needed some guidance. And I just want people to be the best they can be. And if it means stepping into another dimension to build up my transgender, nonconforming, and non-binary community, and anybody else within the LGBTQ spectrum or straight spectrum or whatever that want to come in and want to receive some healing, then I'm all for it. I don't discriminate. I have a tarot page, Tell All Blossom. I'm going to be doing some interesting things with that too. I have some crazy ideas coming up, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, Jason, I feel good when I do it. And I've had to learn to break away again from what people think of me, because for so long I was trying to seek validation even within our own community, because being an activist in the trans community, because again, we're all fighting for crumbs. Sometimes I used to feel less than, and I used to not feel like my work was valid enough, because a lot of times they would honor people in circles. Like they'll give the award to this person just for doing this and give the award to that person for doing that. And in those spaces, I felt like I still had to fight for my presence. The Trans March on DC was a big example of that, and I'll just go ahead and say this flat out. There was an award show that I actually crashed. I actually crashed this award show because I wasn't invited. You had all of these trans activists there that, were there to celebrate. And I actually had to sneak in to do that. So I humbly walked in. My name was not on the list. And I actually crashed it because I know my worth. When you know your worth, when you know who you are, when you know when you can achieve, who gives a damn what these other folks think about you? Sometimes Yes, when you're not at the table, yes, you have to create your table. But other times, sometimes you got to walk up in there and flip their table to let them know that you deserve to be there. And that's what I felt like I needed to do with that CNN town hall. Because how dare you erase Black trans women? Marsha P. Johnson, if it wasn't for her, how dare you? And so that's what I like to use the tarot cards for, you know. And I'm just so humble that I get to help people at the end of the day. It went out, Jason. It went out. Okay.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Blossom. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was saying is what had happened was we see you, we love you, we protect you, we support you, and you are immensely talented, you are immensely valuable, and I can't thank you enough for your activism. Can you hear me again? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. They're saying, can you guys hear me below? And hey, and let's give a shout out to everyone watching, everyone that's been commenting. Hi. Hello, hi, I see you. I'm making sure the sound doesn't go out. I don't know what is going on with my sound today. This is crazy.
I know, but you gotta have me back soon. When you have me back soon, you know.
For sure. All right, girl. Well, look, I'm gonna let you go. Again, you're loved, you're seen, you're celebrated, and we're gonna go get our cards read. Blossom tells all. Go check it out, you guys. And Blossom, all the best, boo. Thank you for being you, and you keep on doing the good work.
Thank you for having me, Jason. And I'm sending you so much love. We'll talk soon.
Yes, we will, Boo. You go and go grab some lunch. I took you off your lunch break. Go grab some lunch.
All right, my love. I'll talk soon.
Bye, baby.